Good morning, everybody. Thank you for wending your way through the wet streets and the fog. Let's stand up and do some celebratory singing, shall we? Here we go. Welcome to this loving place. There are no strangers here. Welcome to this place of open hearts. Every time, just the way you are. Welcome to this joyful place. Let the celebration begin. Namaste, namaste, come on in. Welcome to this loving place. There are no strangers here. Welcome to this place of open hearts. Thank you for being here. You're welcome anytime, every time, just the way you are. Welcome to this joyful place. Let the celebration begin. Namaste.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. We gather here each Sunday by divine appointment to celebrate this human journey together and to reaffirm the divine that dwells in each of us. To those of you joining us on live stream, we welcome you too and consider you a part of our community today as though you are with us in person. And I know from personal experience, that's pretty cool. Hang out in your jammies. I did it last week. And now let us join in calling on this powerful resource together. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. Sorry about that. There's some notes on mine that are out of order. Anyway. And now let us unite our spirit as we hold this vision for our church. We are one-hearted spiritual community, powerfully transforming our world by honoring the sacred in all. And we practice this mission. Inspired by our shared spiritual awakening, we offer practical teachings that empower healthy, abundant, and meaningful living. After today's daily word reading, there will be a congregational song during which we all greet each other warmly. If you are more comfortable with a handshake, please just extend your hand. And now the daily word will be read by Diane Slade.
Good morning. I begin each day dedicated to fulfilling my spiritual purpose. Because I'm a spiritual being, I'm more than a physical body. My needs go beyond food and water. I find spiritual nourishment in prayer and meditation. Jesus knew the importance of realizing our inseparable relationship with the divine and taught that God's a living presence within. Realizing the importance of this teaching, I now recognize that the more time I spend in prayer, the more I will experience a sense of oneness with God and all creation. Any earthly challenges are transformed by the divine presence within. I release all concerns with quiet realization, a gentle knowing that the spiritual being I am is not limited in any way. And from Psalm 47 and 8, then I said, here I am in the scroll of the book. It's written for me. I delight to do your will, O my God. Your law is within my heart.
Let's stand up and do some more affirming of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need. Joy is my source. Joy is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. So express some joy to your neighbor this morning. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need. Come on back. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Let's do that one again. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I
Thank you, Kit and the house band. Whew. Isn't that such a relief that God gives us everything we need? Man, did I steal your thunder? No? We're good, okay. Just want to check. It's all good, okay. Thank you, Jeff and Rick. At this time, if you haven't done so already, please silence your cell phones. I always think that's a funny word, silence. It's like, just turn them off. Okay, now for an acknowledgement. This is, I want to acknowledge who I think is a pretty special gentleman that I've noticed since the very first day I started coming here. And he's just super quiet, does the stuff that his gift to all of us, like setting out chairs and tables and putting up chairs and tables, just all of that stuff, and just kind of sits in the background and, you know, is, I think, super cool. And that's Seth King. You know. And I know he's back there in the other room. No, he's in the fireside room. He's watching. Oh, there he is. There he is. Okay, I see him right there. Thank you, Seth. You seriously are the best. Now he's going back to the fireside room. Okay, check out the bookstore for your Valentine's gifts. There are chocolate roses that look like this right here. Yummy. Cherie Burrows will be in the bookstore before Wednesday night class for those last-minute Valentine's surprises. So make sure you guys check that out, and shoppers. Wise Women meet for brunch on Saturday, February 23rd at 10 a.m. Bring a dish and treat yourself to this sweet and meaningful gathering of amazing women. If you have any questions, check with Karen Stocky, and that's going to be here, I believe. Yes, Karen? Yes, okay. I knew I'd get a yes out there. Adopt a Highway volunteers will meet for a work day on Wednesday, February 27th at 9:30 a.m., I think. It's time to tidy up our stretch of the heavenly hillside. Come to the church and meet up with the work crew and pick up equipment. Please contact Ann Hollows with any questions. The Supper Club returns Friday, March 1st with a trip to Brazil. Betty, do you have any updates for us?
You're going to have to scurry because there's only 4 tickets left for a most unusual evening. So please see me afterwards, and that takes a lot of pressure off me. Thank you.
Okay, unusual, Brazil, Mardi Gras, we'll see. February Wednesday night classes series will be based on Lessons in Truth by Emily Cady and one of the Foundation's Teachings in Unity book in Unity. Books will be available in the bookstore and on Amazon. And now with the gathering prayer, Sherry Stockman.
Please allow yourself a conscious, loving breath. And let's pray. As I walked through the still, wintry landscape of my yard the other day, I noticed that some eager buds had formed on the tips of the otherwise bare branches of my little fig tree. Seeing them reminded me of the ever-present desire to grow and expand my awareness, to fulfill my spiritual and my third dimensional potential. Just as I expect to enjoy figs someday in the future, there is the hope and expectation that my spiritual growth will also bear fruit. It was exciting to see those buds, but we were expecting a freeze, so I covered that little tree to protect those tender buds, just as we sometimes protect our dreams and desires in life. Soon, in the proper season, I'll add some compost to nourish my little tree and protect its roots, its foundation, just as I nourish my own spirit. At some point, I probably will want to prune that little tree a bit to make sure it grows in the direction I prefer. Daily, it is my intention to prune and to nudge my beliefs into directions that will serve me best. And I am grateful, so grateful, for this opportunity to grow and to bear fruit. Thank you, and so it is.
When I was younger, I considered myself smart. I'd lived my life head first in matters of my heart. Those who said they loved me lived in fear and sometimes a lie. They taught me not to love myself, so I kept my dreams inside. Oh, how our lives are changed when fear becomes the scene. A steady diet them side by side. Many to choose from, and not one will be denied. I don't know where love will lead, but it opens up my eyes. Each moment of surrender is such a sweet surprise. I saw the ocean in a raindrop, a desert in a grain of sand, the forest in an acorn, and the whole world in my hands. I found the only oasis that could ever quench my thirst. When I lived life, love I found the only oasis that could ever quench my thirst. When I lived life, love first. Love first. Love first.
When Kid and I were first in the same place at the same time, this was one of the first songs I heard her do. And I remember being, I couldn't breathe because of first of all, my analytical mind recognized the perfect musicality of it. But then those lyrics, dang. That's just, sorry. It's just a Texan thing, you know. Dang. That's a really good song, kid. You touched me. Thank you. I spent the night at the church last night, and it's such a wonderful thing to be here when things start stirring. You know, first it's Seth, and then Leah, and then Taylor, and then the musicians. I may have it in somewhat a different order, but I know Seth is first. Yeah. And so to listen to rehearsal while I'm getting ready, it's about the sweetest thing. And then I start hearing the murmur of your voices, and then the little bit louder murmur of your voices, and then the absolute joy of your voices greeting each other. And I just want you to be aware again and never lose sight of what an extraordinarily beautiful place this is because of you. And I thank you for that. I'm exceedingly grateful this morning. So we have been studying Lessons in Truth for 1 week. And for those of you that are in the class and those of you that aren't, I put a little recap of the class on the resource page so that those of you that are in the class can remember what our little bit of homework was and what we talked about. And those of you that weren't can play along too. I want to show you what I'm teaching Lessons in Truth from. That's not it. There's a new version you can see in the bookstore, and many of you have it. This version I got in my very first Unity class in 1987. And it even has my previous married name in it. So that helps me remember on a timeline when it happened. And I am so enjoying teaching this again because I have notes from teaching it in 1993, 1998, 2004. I've taught this so many times, and it never loses its beauty for me. It never loses its absolute truth. And so I'm going to be talking with you from this book for the next 3 Sundays, today and the next 2 Sundays, to give you just kind of another recap of what we have been learning in this study, because it is one of the sweetest and most definitive ways to experience truth. Emily Cady just kind of gently, in her late 19th century voice, just tells you to kind of get over yourself and get on with God. Doesn't she? Those of you that are studying the book. She's just like, oh, beloved, stop doing that and start doing this. And she does it in a way that makes you want to. So when the book starts out, it says, bondage or liberty, which? Okay. So, I doubt that many of you would say, oh, I'll take the bondage part, thank you very much. I don't mean it that way. Hello out there online. God has an intention, and I'm saying God because we don't have enough words to describe the infinite. So God is just a 3-letter word that kind of pours it all into one little container. But that container is far too small in our minds for what the infinite really is. So when I say God, think bigger than any God you've ever thought about before. As a matter of fact, one of the things that Dr. Katie says to do is to become as a little child. Like, turn off your intellectual analyzing brain and let yourself hear things for the first time. So when I say God, I want you to throw away all of the freight that you might have about what God is. God's not a he. God's not a she. God's not an it. God is not a characteristic. God is all that there is, period. We can say that God is all-knowing, omniscient, but the truth is God is omniscience. God is everything there is to know. And you can do that with all of the O powers that we talk about with God. So when I talk about God, I want you to start letting your mind kind of blow open and embrace something that is beyond definition. And the truth is that infinite being is pouring itself through us all the time. Pouring itself. The divine has an urge, is an urge to express itself. And there's a reason that we don't all look the same and behave the same and come from different cultures, and we're born in different parts of the world in different times in history. Because we are uniquely expressing a piece of the infinite. That's amazing. How dare we have low self-esteem if that is the truth, and it is. That the urge for God's expression to come forth is forever, and it is uniquely in you. So it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what your history is, it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. God is expressing through you. And you can either cooperate with that or you can fight it. Hence the original chapter, Bondage or Liberty. So do you remember the times in your life when you were kind of fighting being divine? Do you remember the times in your life when you were fighting being divine? Thank you. Because we've all done it. We've done it with our addictions and our sick relationships and our battles with our family of origin and blah, 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 the human journey. We've all done that. We've all fought with it. And we've gone through our periods of atheism, agnosticism. We may still be in that agnostic thing. That's okay. It acknowledges that there is something. So stick with that and then keep letting your mind expand. Let your mind expand. Let your mind expand. We had a discussion this week. When were we talking about brain versus mind? Were we in on that? Was that you and me? Obviously, my brain is not functioning on that one. Brain versus mind. You're bigger than your brain. Your mind is beyond your brain. Just kind of chew on that one for a minute. Because we start to believe in the illusion that our mind is it, that what it tells us is true, that what it urges us to do is the thing we got to do. And one of the things that I told the class the other night is that if you have a habit of saying, you know, that's the way I've always been, stop it. Stop it. Oh, you know, I've always been that way. Well, that may be endearing in some aspects, but if it's an excuse for bad behavior, stop it. I've always been that way. If you find yourself saying that, go, oh. Reverend Jill said, don't do that. Because I so expect y'all to be obedient. Yeah. So we have to recondition ourselves. We have to begin rearranging our thinking, because a lot of our thinking is conditioned by our past. It's conditioned by societal messages. It's conditioned by things people have told us. It's conditioned by messages that we make up. Isn't that funny? We make stuff up and then we believe it's true. But you know, we were created that way. We were created to be able to think however we wanted to think. We were given free will. I want to talk to you for a sec about Adam and Eve. We're going to go all the way back to the beginning. So Adam and Eve, you know, if you think about it, it's kind of a funny story, because why would a creator create two people, one at a time, you know, and I happen to believe that maybe it didn't happen exactly in that order, but I don't know. And they were happy being naked. They had dominion over all the living things. And here was all this beauty, and everything that they needed was all right there. But why would God say, okay, but over here, kids, is this tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and whatever you do, don't go over there and don't eat that fruit, okay? You can have all of this, but whatever you do, don't go over here and do this, okay? Don't touch it. Don't eat that fruit. So naturally, I think I will. And so that happened. And don't blame it on snakes. Don't blame it on Eve. Said the female part of the audience. Don't blame it on Eve. Beloved, God was giving human beings the chance to have free will, the knowledge of good and evil, so that they could go out into the world and say, oh, we are not all of that. We are this and that. We get to choose how we will be. We get to make decisions about ourselves. And if you want to translate that into our current experience, you picked this body. You picked what you came to express as. Did you know that? You are not a victim of circumstances, even your own birth. You came here. And you get to do with this whatever you choose to do with it. Responsibility. Ooh. Yeah. Exactly that, Jim. And, we're all here because we got tired of being in places where people gave us a code to live by. Here's the code. Here's the dogma. Here's the theology. We have our own theology. Don't let anybody tell you Unity doesn't have a theology. We do. I just happen to think it's more liberating than others. But it was easier when somebody was telling us, if we follow these rules, then we will get to heaven. Like that's the only goal. Something that happens after you die. How about having heaven right now? Yes. How about living freely right now? How about having the ability to take some of those ideas and thoughts and conditioning and rearrange them? Because they maybe no longer serve you, just like it was in our daily word today. Some of these things that we've lived with no longer serve us. And they are being revealed to us as we are willing to have them be revealed to us. So be not afraid. Be not afraid. If there's some little icky part of you that comes floating to the surface, instead of going, oh my gosh, you can say, oh good, a chance for liberation. A chance not to be in bondage to this anymore. We have that opportunity. So we have some tools for that, and you know that the lesson today is called Tools for the Garden. So I'm going to give you some very basic Unity terms: denials and affirmations. We're going all the way back to the very beginning. How many of you have heard about denials and affirmations before? If you haven't heard of them before, denials are not about pretending like something doesn't exist that does. It's not that kind of psychological denial. This is about denying that something no longer has power over us. That we are greater than those things which we perceive have limited us. How liberating is that? Bondage or liberty? Which? Liberty. So there's this little glossary that's put together by, that's terms that Charles Fillmore defined for us. So a denial is the mental process of erasing from consciousness the false beliefs of the sense mind. Denial clears away belief in evil as reality and thus makes room for the establishing of truth. The sense mind is the thing that gets fascinated with the material world, with the acquisitions, with the relationships, with the pursuit of our goals for our careers at the cost of everything else, that kind of thing. Denials as related to affirmations. A denial is a relinquishment, and it should not be made with too much vehemence. In other words, you're not going to say, this doesn't have power over me. I swear it doesn't. I swear it does not. Yeah, I kind of given it a little more power than you need to right there. Let us make our denials as though we were gently sweeping away cobwebs, and our affirmations in a strong, bold, positive attitude of mind. When we poise ourselves in divine mind, our affirmations and denials will be made in right relation. We will know just when to let go of a thought and when to lay hold of another. So here's the definition of affirmations. Pardon me. An affirmation simply is a positive statement of truth. By the use of affirmations, we claim and appropriate that which is ours in truth. So in an affirmation and a denial, it's two movements of the mind that express power to accept or to reject, and to lay hold of or to let go. So that's a very powerful tool for us. If that's all we did in our spiritual life, we would be in really good shape. And many of us are. Many of you do this already. And listen, my friends, to be real about it. Some of us have conditions in our bodies that we're working on that may or may not ever go away. But it's whether or not we allow them to define us. It's whether or not we allow pain or suffering to become our reality and not the sweetness of God in the midst of it. Do you hear that? That's mature spirituality, my friends. That's mature spirituality. And I know that you do this. I see you doing it. I see you living in your truth, no matter what's going on with your body, no matter what's going on with your family. And it doesn't mean that you don't have very real feelings and moments of grief and anger. Even we indulge ourselves in moments of self-pity. Let's go ahead. Just get down in there and feel sorry for yourself really good for a few minutes and then come back out of it again. You know? Because we can't linger there very long, because then self-pity becomes our reality, and who wants to do that? So I'm not saying pretend like stuff doesn't exist. It's about how it has power over you. I was telling Bill this week I had to go to my regular oncology checkup. And it's not one of my favorite things to do. Oh, yay, I get to go to the cancer doctor. But I don't walk around thinking of myself as a cancer survivor. I walk around just thinking of myself as Jill. And if it comes up, oh yeah, I had cancer and I'm surviving it. But when I go to the oncologist, you know, I have to kind of go through the inventory of the long-term effects of going through cancer treatment. Blech. Boring. And so I go and I say it, and I spend the rest of the day going, well, that was yucky. And then wake up the next morning and I did this. I thought I'm going to either let that doctor's appointment define me or I'm not. And I got up the next morning and went, okay, that's over. See you next time. Because in the meantime, I'm living my life, just like you are. Living. There's a comedian that talks about being in a private plane that was in some rocky weather. And somebody said, well, when is this plane going to land? He says, when it gets to the ground. Says he goes up and tells the pilot, look, if we're going to go down, hit something really hard because I don't want to limp away from this. Let's just get it done. I'd recommend that comedian, except he's really naughty. And so anyway. But I watched his whole show because I like him. By the way, speaking of Bill, sitting in the back of the church, I'm not trying to draw attention to you, honey, but today is the very day that he and I are celebrating 23 years of being married to each other. And it's been ups and downs and smooth patches and stormy patches and 2 wonderful children and some very scary health moments for Bill in particular. And we're still here. And I love you, sweetie. Okay, I'm going to give you some denials that you can practice. I'm going to do it fast. First, there is no evil. There is no evil. Now, think about that for a moment, because I bet you'd like to say, well, I think maybe there's a little bit of evil. It's evil with a capital E. Capital E. There's not another power out there that's battling to get our souls. There's the evil that humans create. That's it. And humans can create some pretty nasty evil. But there is no evil that can harm us, not in our souls. So there is no evil is a pretty absolutist kind of statement, isn't it? If you had a reaction to that, just work on it. There's but one power in the universe. And what is that? Thank you. There's your answer right there. Second, there is no absence of life, substance, or intelligence anywhere. There's no absence of life, substance, and intelligence anywhere. Third, pain, sickness, poverty, old age, and death cannot master me, for they are not real. Take a breath on that. Don't identify yourself with it. They can't master you. They're not real in the sense that they cannot take away your spirit, which is eternal. Fourth, there is nothing in all the universe for me to fear, for greater is he that is within me than he that is in the world. It's a powerful scripture right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we could grab hold of those and know them all the time. Whew. Here's some affirmations for you. This is what you say when things aren't going the way you would like them to go. And you've begun to say, this has no power over me, but God is life, love, intelligence, substance, omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence. Wow. That's what God is. All those things that we might not be feeling, thinking, believing in the moment. God is all that, right here, right now. Second, I am a child or manifestation of God. and every moment of God's life, love, wisdom, and power flow into and through me. I am one with God, and I am governed by God's law. Wow. Would you like me to put these on the resource page too? Okay. Here's the third. I am spirit, perfect, holy, harmonious. Nothing can hurt me or make me sick or afraid, for spirit is God, and God cannot be sick or hurt or afraid. I manifest my real self through this body now. The fourth one, God works in me to will and do whatsoever God wishes me to do, and God cannot fail. There's two things that'll help you here. You can have blind faith, which just accepts things however you hear them. Or you can have understanding faith, which means it's down here, rooted in you. Blind faith is sometimes where we start, but understanding faith is the one that brings it home. So, beloved, begin to work with this. We'll talk about this some more, 2 more Sundays, because this is powerful work. This is necessary work. This is what we're about. Let's pray. For a moment, just let from your feet on the floor to the top of your head and beyond, be fully present. When you breathe, I want you to imagine that breath energizing with oxygen through your blood flow. I want you all the way down to your toes. That same breath clearing all through your body into that organ in your skull called your brain. And as it clears, imagine it opening up. And this is our limited 3-dimensional way of trying to describe something that's 4th, 5th, 6th dimensional. Imagine God's life, love, wisdom, health, inspiration pouring through the top of your head all the way through your body. This is the way healing happens right now. And if your mind gets busy trying to figure it out, say, beloved, rest for a moment. Something is happening beyond our current understanding, and all is well. The light of God pouring in through that crown chakra, all the way down through your body. Revealing and healing all that is not like perfect life. Breathe it. Just breathe it. Let it keep flowing. There is no roof above us that can keep the light from flowing into us. Spirit, all that we have heard today, all that we have begun to absorb today, bring it home to us so that we might truly understand. And even now, understanding is opening itself up within you. Bring your hands together. Connect with your body again. And remember the scripture that we heard, greater is he that is within me than he that is in the world. Greater is God that is within me than anything else out in the world. What a mighty gift of liberty. We are made whole. We are made free. All is well. We are so grateful. And so it is. Amen.
Please join with me on this, real easy. God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. God is, I am, right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. God is, I am. Right here, right now, right here, right now. God is, I am. God is, I am.
That was beautiful. Oh, yeah. Now is the time in our service where we have a chance to give back. As part of our prosperity consciousness, we give back to where we're spiritually nourished. We're grateful for these gifts, and we know that Spirit is working through us to support all that is needed for our community and beyond. For those of you that are watching online, you can donate on our website. Remember, my friends, that when you give, it is a measure of your prosperity consciousness that will be coming back to you. Know that as you give, not only are you benefiting this place that provides spiritual nourishment, but that we also then give out to the world and are able to support other organizations and people that are in need or have blessed us. So your giving is very important, and it ripples out. Let's take a moment to bring this into our hearts as we prepare our offerings and as our ushers come forward. We now offer this affirmation of abundance together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
You get to sing along on the chorus. Running around thinking this or that, giving it up to God, then taking it back. Just release and let it go. You don't even have to think about it no more. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out the way and let God do its thing. You look like the weight of the world's on your back. Take a deep breath and cut yourself some slack. All that drama ain't good for you. You couldn't change what is if you wanted to. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out the way and let God do its thing. The sun is gonna shine and the river's gonna flow. The tide's gonna rise without your say-so. The universe is working and the good is flowing. You don't plant a seed and pull it up to see how it's growing. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out the way and let God do its thing. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out the way and let God do its thing. Said get out the way and let God do its thing. Said get out the way and let God do its thing.
Yeah, girl. Woo. Okay, I think your hearts are full. Let's bless these gifts together. We bless these gifts and the givers with our love and gratitude. Got it? All righty. Let's take a moment now. Let's take a moment now to welcome all those who are here for the very first time. If you would you please raise your hand so that we can make sure we greet you? Yeah, thank you for being here. We hope you feel welcome here, and we encourage you to complete a blue card out in our foyer at visitors table. You'll get a name tag for the next time you come and a subscription to the e-newsletter if you'd like it. So just to wrap things up, be sure and join us if you can for our second Wednesday night class on Lessons in Truth. It is an in-person class and not online during this session. Check out the bookstore with Valentine gifts and chocolate roses. And just make sure you take all the wrapping off before you try to eat these, okay? Just want to make sure you knew that. Blue prayer request sheets are on the back table, and yellow gratitude sheets for our gratitude jar. Our chaplain for today, Sherry, will be available after the service to pray with you if you care for that. So now let us sing in our kids.
You are a light, you are a light, you are a light in this world. You are a light, you are a light, you are a light in this world. And you shine, and you shine, and you shine so bright. And you shine, and you shine, and
let's, oh, here comes the rest of them. Yay. Come on over, come on over. It's been a while. There they are.
We were doing a meditation.
Ah, you were meditating, that's why you didn't get here in time? Oh, gosh. You are excused. Jan McGowan, I bet you just toned those kids right into bliss, I bet. Yep. Yeah. So why don't we bless these young people, our future, together? We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you just the way you are. And now our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us.